Good morning. It's Super Tuesday, March 1st. I'm Lauren Prisville.
And I'm Tim Ryan. This Super Tuesday, the biggest day in the presidential election season.
At stake for the Republicans, about 600 delegates, or about half of what's needed to win the nomination. That includes 155 from Texas. Democratic presidential candidates Hillary Clinton and U.S. Senator Bernie Sanders are vying for more than 1,000 delegates, or about half of what is needed for the Democratic nomination. 252 of those will come from our state.
And it is good to be home.
U.S. Senator Ted Cruz of Texas rallied hundreds of supporters at Gilley's in Dallas just a day before Super Tuesday. Governor Greg Abbott and former Governor Rick Perry were there to support Cruz. His campaign says he has 27,000 volunteers across the Super Tuesday states working to get out the vote. Cruz says he is confident he'll get a large number of delegates today. Republican frontrunner Donald Trump got the endorsement of some big names as well. In NASCAR, this was during a rally in Georgia. Several current and former NASCAR drivers were there, including Ryan Newman and Chase Elliott. NASCAR CEO Brian France called Trump a winner for the way he's raised his kids. Former Louisiana Governor Bobby Jindal stumped for U.S. Senator Marco Rubio of Florida at a rally in Oklahoma City. Rubio slammed Donald Trump, but also said if voters don't give in to anger, this generation of Americans will be remembered for returning the country to the principles that made us great. Democratic frontrunner Hillary Clinton spent time in Massachusetts, also Virginia on Monday. She largely ignored her rival for the nomination, focused on Republicans instead. She is speaking in Miami tonight. And U.S. Senator Bernie Sanders of Vermont voted this morning in his home state. He is expected to easily win that state's primary. So far, he's only won the New Hampshire primary, tied in Iowa. He's hoping good turnouts in places like Oklahoma, Minnesota, Massachusetts, and Colorado will help him pull off some surprise victories.
Well, we may not see anybody drop out of the race today, even with single-digit numbers and no chance of winning the Republican nomination. Welcome back to Dr. Jeff Engel, Director for the Center of Presidential History at SMU. So, is it now Donald Trump's race to lose? Let's take a look at the states that are up today. And Texas, the biggest one in more ways than one, but and certainly in the number of delegates. But some big states, including Massachusetts, will be decided today. Is it Donald Trump's race to lose on the Republican side?
It's remarkably close for him to be locking this up in the long term. And I think we need to take a step back and think about the historical perspective here. If we had a candidate who had won the states before, who had won Nevada, who had won New Hampshire, who had won not won Iowa, obviously, we would say that candidate is a shoo-in.
Right.
At this point, normally we would say that candidates are going to go ahead and get the nomination at this point, which tells us a lot about the undercurrent of discontent against the Trump nomination, that people in the Rubio camp, people in the Cruz camp, people throughout the Republican Party are scrambling to come up with some math that will keep this from happening.
Or some scandal, and all of a sudden the opposition ads are running, like a gift from heaven. A Ku Klux Klan endorsement came in for Donald Trump. He was not very fast to repudiate that endorsement. That didn't hurt him.
No, well, I think it might actually. I think this one might, and this one actually might help solidify some opposition in the general election, because there's a growing sense among minority groups in particular that Trump is not their guy, and this really confirms it. And sometimes one has to say, even though Trump didn't disavow as quickly as he should have the KKK, one has to ask oneself, when you have friends who are supporting you, what does that tell you about you? And if Donald Trump's supporters come from that element, that's not going to play well for the general election. That also maybe tell us something about Trump himself.
Well, let's talk about Ted Cruz. Everybody says, and I presume you agree, that he's got to win Texas today.
If there was ever a moment for Cruz to use an Alamo reference, this is it. If he doesn't stop Trump here, there's no way that he gets the math, and there's no way that he gets any momentum in order to go forward to continue the campaign, which is especially interesting because Trump is doing remarkably well in states and among groups that Cruz had originally counted on to win. Throughout the South, throughout evangelical country. This is a place that Cruz was counting on, and Trump has taken all those votes.
Marco Rubio, meantime, hoping for a series of second-place finishes. He will be high-fiving himself if he comes in second in most of these races.
Well, he's trying to get at least one. He has to get at least one state as a victory, so you can turn around and say, "Listen, I've won a state too." Minnesota seems to be the best place for him to look for that victory. Rubio's strategy is very akin to a basketball tournament in a sense that you survive in advance, get to the next big round of delegates, which is on the 15th. Which of course are Ohio and Florida, which are important because those are winner-take-all states.
Right, which is why John Kasich, the governor of Ohio, who's actually had to remind people that he's not the former governor, he is the current governor of Ohio. That's why he's staying in the race, so he can stay relevant and be a player at the convention.
Well, and he's a very popular governor, too. I mean, he's looking quite well in that state. And the other thing is Rubio is actually looking not so strong in his own home state of Florida. So Kasich is hoping to make the argument that the people who know me best vote for me. I should be the one who can stand up to Trump.
Why will one of these guys, and Ben Carson says it's on principle, I'm doing it out of loyalty to my supporters, but why will Kasich not drop out? Why will Cruz or Rubio after today not drop out when they have doesn't look like any chance of winning the nomination?
Well, as long as they all stay in and can somehow keep Trump from getting the nomination wrapped up before the convention, they're all hoping that the convention breaks down, essentially, that we have a brokered convention, that delegates after the second ballot are released to vote for whoever they want, and there can be some horse trading and dealing, wheeling dealing, kind of the exact kind of backroom dealing that the primary system was designed to prevent.
And those delegates would tend to be people who've been party loyalists, party mainstreamers for a long time who would be loath to vote for Donald Trump at the convention.
If you can get basically everyone in the party who is not a Trump supporter to coalesce against Trump, that might give them the math. Frankly, at this point, history suggests that it's going to be a Trump nomination.
Very quickly, Hillary Clinton.
Well, she's pivoted to the general already, and the language that she's using is really quite important. As Trump is talking about building walls, Hillary, of course, is talking about getting people over barriers and helping people have a ladder up.
Exactly.
She's trying to use exact language to say this is a different America, and this is a more welcoming and inclusive America than Trump is suggesting.
All right, Dr. Jeff Engel, thanks very much.
Always good to see you.
Appreciate it.